There's a system built into your paycheck. You never see it. It isn't hiding. It's the apartment upgrade that felt earned. The car payment that replaced a car that still ran fine. The raise that vanished in 6 months. No reckless purchase to blame it on. That's not bad luck, that's design. The system doesn't need to steal from you directly. It just needs your income to always feel a little smaller than it actually is. Forever. So you never stop needing the next paycheck to survive. So getting ahead always feels like something that happens to other people, in other families, with some advantage you weren't given. Most people spend 40 years inside that system. They never see its shape. They mistake the treadmill for the destination. This is the story of the year you finally saw it clearly, the year the water became visible, and the decade of unglamorous, invisible, completely uninstagrammable decisions it actually took to walk out of a system that was never designed to let you leave quietly. The trap doesn't announce itself. That's the whole point. It starts the moment your first real paycheck lands, not with a bad decision, with a feeling. The feeling that you finally earned something, that earning it means you get to live like it. The apartment gets a little nicer, nothing extravagant, just better than the one you had before, which felt reasonable after everything you put in to get here. The car gets more reliable. The groceries shift from whatever's cheapest to whatever you actually want to eat. The wardrobe updates slowly, one reasonable purchase at a time. None of it feels like overspending, because none of it is dramatic. It's just life quietly adjusting to match your income. Then the raise comes. Maybe it's a few $1,000s a year. For a few days, it feels significant. Real money, real movement, the kind of number that changes the picture. Then, quieter this time, almost automatic, the lifestyle absorbs it. The rent goes up because you moved somewhere better. The car payment increases because the old one finally gave out and you got something newer. The credit card balance that was almost zero creeps back up. There were 3 months in a row where something unexpected hit. The card was just there. Within 6 months, the raise is gone. Not wasted, not blown on anything you'd be embarrassed to name, just consumed, cleanly and completely, by a life engineered to expand exactly as fast as your income does. This is lifestyle inflation. It doesn't feel like inflation, because every individual step felt earned. Here's what it actually costs, not in any single month, compounded forward, year after year, invisibly. Every dollar absorbed by an upgrade is a dollar that stops working for you permanently. It doesn't just disappear in the present, it disappears in the future too, because it never gets the chance to grow. Money set aside at 24 instead of spent on an upgrade isn't just money. Given a decade of quiet compounding, it becomes something meaningfully different by 34. Not because of superhuman discipline, because of time running in the background while you were busy living an ordinary life. The trap has a gravity to it, a social pull that makes it nearly invisible while it's happening, because everyone around you is doing the same thing at the same time. The nicer apartment is normal. The upgraded car is normal. The credit card float is normal. The average household carries 5 figures in revolving debt. Not because people are reckless, because the trap is the water everyone is swimming in, and nobody ever mentions the water. Escaping it doesn't require deprivation. It requires seeing it clearly once, then making a different decision about what the next raise actually does. A decision that ends up separating 2 people who started at the exact same place, on the exact same day, with the exact same paycheck. Nobody hands you a manual for any of this, not in school, not in the onboarding packet at your first real job, not anywhere the system actually expects you to learn it. The closest most people come is a line in an HR orientation about a retirement match, mentioned once, in passing, between the section on vacation accrual and the section on parking validation, while everyone in the room is quietly thinking about lunch. So most people build their entire financial life the only way they were ever shown: earn, spend, Try not to go negative. Move whatever's left over into an account. Earning almost nothing. That's defense. Defense alone never builds anything. It just delays the moment the system catches up to you. Picture two people hired the same week, same company, same starting salary, same gray cubicle facing the parking garage. From the outside, the starting line is identical. The first one gets his paycheck and does what feels natural, what feels earned. He leases a 3-year-old truck, dark blue, monthly payment north of $500. Pulling into the garage, that first Monday feels like proof the grind was worth it. Like evidence, this chapter is different from the last one. People notice. They always notice. The second one gets the same paycheck. He sits with it a little longer, still driving the same used sedan, with a crack running across the bottom of the windshield he keeps meaning to fix. Parking it next to the truck feels like a physical gap. Not shame exactly, just a quiet awareness that from the outside this doesn't look like progress. But that same week, he opens the HR portal. He does something the first one never does. He sets the 401k contribution high enough to capture the full company match. Free money sitting in a footnote most people on the floor deleted without reading. Then he opens a Roth IRA. He automates a transfer, a few $100s, 2 days after every paycheck, into a low-cost index fund. That's the entire decision. Nothing dramatic happens after it. No confirmation that the right call was made. No moment where the math suddenly becomes visible. At the holiday party, someone asks about the truck. He talks for 10 minutes. Nobody asks about the Roth IRA. Nobody ever asks about the Roth IRA. 2 years pass. The truck and nicer apartment life absorbs every raise exactly the way it was built to. A bigger raise folds cleanly into a 2-bedroom across town with a gym in the building. The quiet automation, meanwhile, keeps running, capturing free money every single pay period, compounding forward through the noise, with nothing exciting and nothing dramatic about it at all. Just money sitting still, but not sitting dead. From the outside, one of them is clearly winning. He looks the part. He moves through the office with the ease of someone whose life matches his income. The other one looks like he's standing still. By every visible measure the people around him use, he is. But underneath, a gap is opening that nobody at that holiday party can see. It widens every single payday automatically, without either of them doing a single new thing to make it happen. Which means the real question was never whether this quiet approach actually works. It's understanding exactly what happens the day the system finally comes to test both of them at once. Nobody prepares you for how quiet this part is. You flip the order, future self first, everything else after, then life just continues, same cubicle, same Tuesday stand-ups, same parking garage, same 2 cars sitting 3 rows apart. Nothing announces that you made a decision that matters. Nothing confirms it. The money just moves silently on schedule. The world acts like absolutely nothing happened, because from the outside, nothing did. At a friend's birthday dinner, the conversation moves the way it always moves in your mid-20s. Someone closed on a condo. Someone made senior associate. Someone's doing 2 weeks in Colorado in March. You say you're doing fine. You watch their faces settle into polite interest, then drift somewhere else within about 4 seconds. There is no version of I've been maxing my Roth IRA contributions into a low-cost index fund that lands at a dinner table the way a condo does. You know this going in. You go home feeling something you can't quite name. Not failure exactly. A specific smallness that comes from moving in a direction nobody around you can see or measure. Being underestimated stops feeling like a cost of the plan. It starts feeling like the entire design of it. 2 coworkers speculate within earshot that you must be sending most of your paycheck home to family. The only story that explains why you never upgrade anything. You don't correct them. You genuinely can't. not without explaining a decade of automatic transfers nobody ever asked about. So you eat your sandwich, you let them believe whatever story makes sense to them. Because being wrong about you costs you nothing at all. Some years are harder than others. One year, the market has a rough stretch. For months, your number actually goes down instead of up, which is somehow worse than it standing still. You check it more than you used to. That never helps. A different thought creeps in, uninvited. Maybe they were right about you. Maybe you traded your best years for a spreadsheet nobody will ever see. Part of you wants to stop the automatic transfers, just until things settle, just to feel some control over something. You don't stop them, mostly out of stubbornness at that point, rather than confidence. It takes years to fully understand that stretch wasn't the plan failing. It was just the ordinary, unglamorous price of doing something that takes far longer than a single year to work. Running quietly underneath a life that, from every angle anyone else can see, looks completely unremarkable. You keep the pressure to yourself. There's genuinely nowhere to put it down. The pressure to buy the visible thing isn't subtle. It lives in every group chat, every casual conversation about what everyone's been up to, every parking garage Monday where someone else's car is still newer and still louder than anything you're driving. And the moves actually building your future are so unglamorous, they barely register as decisions at all. An automatic transfer that runs before you're awake to reconsider it. An HR email about a company match that half the floor will never collect. Because the enrollment form takes 15 minutes and looks administrative instead of urgent. You filled out the form. You captured the match. That single decision, made alone on an ordinary afternoon with nobody watching, compounds into real money over the next decade. Money that, at the time, doesn't feel like a decision at all. It just feels like a form. Then, without warning, the system tests you back. An all-staff meeting appears on the calendar with no agenda. On an ordinary Thursday morning, everyone already knows what it means before it starts. By mid-morning, both of you are carrying cardboard boxes through the same lobby, same severance package, same Thursday neither of you saw coming 3 days earlier. But at the car, checking the number that's been quietly building for years, never announced, never once mentioned at a dinner table, gives you something the other path never built. Runway. Real months, not of panic, of actual choice about what happens next. He takes the first job he finds, no real choice in it. The truck payment is due in 9 days. The credit card he'd been carrying as an emergency backup quietly became the thing covering the gap between what life costs and what he earns. Sitting at a balance he's stopped looking at directly. He tells himself it's temporary. It might be. But there was no runway to actually find out. So the decision gets made for him by the calendar instead of by him. You take the time instead. You turn down the first offer because it's a lateral move into a department going nowhere. You pass on the second because something about the final interview doesn't sit right. You've learned, slowly, to trust that instinct over the pressure to just accept something. You consult nobody on this, because nobody around you has ever actually been in a position to make that call. Not the friends still chasing the visible scoreboard. Not family who only ever sees the surface of things. The job you eventually take pays more than the one you lost. Something shifts that's hard to name at first. Not confidence exactly. Something quieter. A steadiness that comes specifically from knowing the floor is there. That one bad Thursday can't unravel years of transfers and captured matches that kept compounding through the entire ordeal without asking anything of you in return. Months later, you open the account on an unremarkable evening. You notice something that stops you for a second. Some months, the portfolio alone generates more than everything you personally contributed that month. Not from anything you did, not from any decision made that week, just from compounding that's been running quietly in the background the entire time you were busy living. That's the actual tipping point. Not a milestone on a scoreboard, a ratio. The moment the money starts doing more of the work than you are. Once that ratio tips, it doesn't tip back. Months later, on an ordinary weekday, you're in a coffee shop at 11:17 in the morning, not at a desk, not in a meeting, not inside the specific, scheduled, institutionally governed version of a Tuesday that the previous years of your working life required you to be inside, working on something that belongs entirely to you. Funded by monthly income from assets built across years of decisions nobody watched and nobody congratulated you for making. The barista doesn't know. The people who assume you're still at the same job don't know. There's no announcement, no viral post, no dramatic resignation letter thrown in the air like confetti. Just a Tuesday that belongs entirely to a decision made years ago, quietly, before anyone was paying attention to what you were building underneath the surface of an ordinary life. The escape isn't quitting. Quitting a job without the passive income to cover your life isn't freedom. It's unemployment with optimism, dressed up to look like a choice. The actual escape is the specific month your passive income crosses your monthly expenses. A line that gets crossed on a statement nobody else will ever see. Structurally, permanently, the relationship between you and your paycheck changes on that unremarkable date, whether you announce it or not. Your lifestyle didn't change to mark the occasion. Same apartment you've lived in for years. Same car with too many miles on it, and a stain on the seat nobody's bothered to fix. The gap you maintained deliberately between what you earned and what you actually spent. Across every raise that didn't expand the apartment and every promotion that didn't upgrade the car is the entire architecture the freedom was quietly built from. And the freedom shows up in the moment you'd least expect to actually notice it. The phone call about a parent in the hospital 2 states away. You book the next available flight, not the cheapest one, without once checking your account balance first because the thought doesn't even occur to you. You sit in that waiting room for days, completely present, because the logistics don't touch you. The money already handled every problem money can handle. Quietly, without requiring anything from you, in the exact moment you needed to be somewhere else entirely. That was never really about the portfolio number sitting in an app. It was always about being able to show up completely when it actually mattered. Because 100 ordinary paydays, each one boring and forgettable on its own, held. You didn't out-earn anyone. You didn't out-hustle anyone. You understood something earlier. That the decisions nobody sees are the only ones that ever actually compound. The system counts on you never noticing that in time to matter. Pay attention this week to the exact moment the upgrade presents itself. The newer phone, the nicer apartment, the thing that would make Tuesday feel a little more like winning in front of people who are keeping score. You'll feel the pull. That pull is the system, still running exactly as designed. Still built specifically to catch the people trying hardest to get ahead of it. Because trying hard and spending accordingly is precisely the behavior it was engineered to reward. The knowing doesn't make the next paycheck easier. The transfer still has to run, on schedule, whether you feel like it or not. Nobody claps when it does. Nobody at the holiday party asks about it. Nobody ever will. But you already escaped a system built to keep you exactly where you started, spending exactly as fast as you earn, forever. And the only proof it ever needed was a Tuesday, quiet and unremarkable, arriving at 11:17 in the morning, that finally, permanently, belonged to you.